Chapter 10. It'd be much easier to tell you the story if it were all chaste and perfect love between children against the world and an extreme time in history, but let's face it, that would be a load of crap. The real truth is the war didn't have much to do with it except to provide. The real truth is that the war didn't have to do much with it except to provide a perfect kind of limbo in which two people who were too young and too related could start kissing without anyone or anything to make us stop. There were no parents, no teachers, no schedules. There was nowhere to go, nothing to do that would remind us that this sort of thing didn't happen in the real world. There no longer was a real world. For a while, Edmund and I pretended that what was happening was totally reversible. We drifted around through the day, looking at each other and acting like nothing at all had happened. But it didn't matter. It turns out to be true that an object in motion remains in motion. Well, thank you, Miss Valerie Green, science teacher back at dear old Nightingale Bamford School for Girls. Whoever imagined anything you said would ever come in handy. Now let's try to understand that falling into sexual and emotional thrall with an underage blood relative hasn't exactly been on my list of things to do while visiting England. But I was coming around to the belief that whether you liked it or not, things happen. And once they start happening, you pretty much just have to hold on for dear life and see where they drop you when they stop. In our case, things happened in spades. The next thing that happened was we started sleeping most of the daylight hours so we could be awake at night when everyone else was in bed. Of course, if you had to choose an audience for illicit love based on people you'd least like to have hanging around, Piper and Isaac would win hands down. Isaac, because he always knew by a sort of navigational instinct where Edmund was and what he was thinking. In any case, it wasn't totally obvious, anyways, just by looking at us. And Piper, because she was so good and pure that when she was confronted about what was going on, she just stood and stared at your face until you either told her the truth or ran away and hid. Neither of us was anxious to tell her the truth, so most of the time we hid. Things were so intense, I was sure that other people could hear the hum coming off us. Piper and Isaac didn't say anything, but the dogs were upset and behaved strangely, as if the hum and the smell of our skin made them anxious. Jin refused to leave Edmund's side, wrapping herself around his legs when he tried to go anywhere, and crawling into his armpit whenever he sat down, as if she wanted to hide herself inside him. It got so bad he had to be stroking her all the time, and she started whining piteously, until Osbert shouted from the other room, "Will someone make that dog shut up?" Some nights, Edmund had to lock her in the barn if we wanted to be alone, but secretly I felt desperate for her because I knew exactly how she felt. Osbert was the only one who didn't seem suspicious. He was so interested in the decline of Western civilization that he missed the version of it taking place under his nose. We didn't hear anything from Aunt Pen. It had been a few weeks since she left, and every moment of every day felt like some bizarre new existence in which not hearing from Aunt Pen fit perfectly. You could tell Piper missed her mother, and there were things I still wanted to ask her. But aside from that, her arrival right now in the middle of the world's most inappropriate case of sexual obsession would have been inconvenient, to say the least. As for me, I was pretty far gone. And not so far gone that I thought anyone with half a toehold in reality would think what we were doing was a good idea. But I'd like to make an important point before this goes any further, and that is if anyone feels like arresting me for corrupting an innocent kid, then all I can say is that Edmund was not corruptible. Some people are just like that, and if you don't believe me, it just means you've never met one of them yourself, which is your loss.